Disclaimer, this series is about using the Bible to identify sins in video games. This series isn't trying to send a hateful or offensive message towards any video game companies, YouTubers, or fans. And I want to address that I am actually a fan of Pokemon, so please don't lump me with the haters. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Thanks for watching. How's it going, crewmates? It's KRF and welcome to episode 2 of Sins in Video Games. The last episode in this series reached my expectations, so after careful decision I've decided that this video is going to be about the sins in Pokemon. More specifically, the design and type of each Pokemon of the first generation, and what they're based on, and if you want to see a video on Pokemon moves, that will be in the future. Now, for those of you who have been around my channel for a long time, you should know that I'm a big Zelda fan, and an episode on Sins in Zelda won't be made anytime soon due to some issues in the communities I partake in and some clarification, I guess. So like I said, I've decided to make a video on the designs and type of each Pokemon from the Kanto region. If you're someone viewing this video and aren't into video games or you don't know anything about Pokemon, let me explain. In every Pokemon game, you start off in a region. Each region has their own unique Pokemon. Game Freak, the company that makes Pokemon games, see Pokemon as animals, and each real-life animal lives in a different part of the world according to the animal's environmental needs. The same goes for Pokemon. The first Pokemon region, Kanto, originally had 151 Pokemon. I'm only doing a video on Kanto because currently there are 7 regions and in total there are 802 Pokemon. At least until Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon come out this November. So starting off the video, we need to separate the dirt from the gold. Not all Pokemon are based off something that is sinful from a biblical perspective. Take for instance the 3 Pokemon you can choose at the start of the game. Bulbasaur is a poisonous dinosaur frog plant thing, and it evolves into a bigger dinosaur frog plant thing. Charmander is a salamander that can shoot fire from its mouth. Pokemon theorists believe that the fire is produced by a reaction between 2 chemicals in its stomach, and it eventually becomes a dragon based on the Komodo dragon. I'll leave a link to the theory below on the fire shooting thing. And the last starter, Squirtle, is just a little blue turtle that spits water and bubbles from its mouth. It evolves into a bigger turtle with water shooting cannons coming out of its shell. These Pokemon are based off animals. The same goes for the next few Pokemon on the list, so Pokemon 1 through 34 are excluded since they're bugs, birds, and different kinds of mice. Pokemon number 35 through 40 is where the identifying begins. Clefairy and its evolution Clefable are Pokemon from outer space. Clefairy was a normal type in the original Pokemon games, but recently Game Freak changed their types to Fairy. The Bible does not mention anything about fairies, but if you watched the last episode, you should remember that I mentioned a quote from the book of Deuteronomy about magic and how magic users were killed. If you know anything about fairy lore, you should know that fairies are magic users that are apparently too good for hell and not good enough for heaven. Fairies use magic. The book of Deuteronomy clarifies that magic is evil, and so are the people who use it. So these 2 Pokemon are the beginning of the sinful Pokemon design, also Jigglypuff and Wigglypuff since they're both fairy types. Vulpix and its evolution Ninetales are both fox Pokemon that are based off 9-tailed foxes. In Japan, the 9-tailed fox is a powerful spirit that likes to play tricks on people, and they are known for their ability to disguise themselves as beautiful women. So, in the Bible there are different spirits. The Holy Spirit, which is the third of the Holy Trinity. There are angels, which protect us and do all the things God says. And there are demons, which were angels that cared more about themselves than God. Because of this, they were casted out of heaven and into hell. They have a hatred for God and all his creations, and they are the reason why there is sin, and the leader of the demons, Satan, tempted Eve, or tricked her into eating a fruit from a tree God told her and Adam not to eat from. The Holy Spirit and the angels that serve God don't trick people, but demons do, like Satan when he tricked Eve. So Vulpix and Ninetales are based off something evil. And I just want to say this now, I am not saying that the creators of the game did this intentionally or unintentionally. I'm just saying that some of these things are sins from a Christian perspective, or a biblical viewpoint, I guess you could say. The next 22 Pokemon are fine, they're just based off animals, plants, boxing monkeys, and tadpoles. Then we get to Pokemon 63 through 65, the Abra Evolution line. The first Psychic-type Pokemon. A Psychic can be classified under the Magic users, and if you watched the last episode, you should remember what the Book of Deuteronomy says about Magic users. I recommend you watch it. And apparently, Abra used to be a human that turned into a Pokemon. I'm not going to go any further with this because Pokemon turning into humans, and yeah, next I'll just be getting into a bunch of Pokemon theories, and that's not what most of you came here for. Pokemon 66 through 78 are humanoid creatures, more plants, some squids, rocks with faces, and 2 horses that have fire replacing their manes, and like I said before with Charmander, it could be a chemical reaction, but that's just a theory. Next we have Slowpoke and Slowbro, and they are Psychic types, and like I said before with Abra, Kadabra, and Alakazam, Psychic types can be under Magic users, except here's the weird part. Slowpoke is apparently a hippopotamus. A Psychic hippopotamus! Skipping over some more Pokemon without any sinful design that I could find, 81 through 91 consist of magnets with intelligence, birds, seals, intelligent toxic waste, and clams. 92 through 94 are ghosts that will inflict you with poison, give you nightmares, and kill you just because they want friends. The Dex entry for Gengar in Pokemon Sun says, should you feel yourself attacked by a sudden chill, it is evident of a Gengar approaching. There's no escaping it, give up. While in Pokemon Moon, tries to be positive, it says, it apparently wishes for a traveling companion. Since it was once a human itself, it tries to create one by taking the lives of other humans. It's kind of sad, but it's not good, because it's murder. So, yeah, sin identified. Number 95 is fine, it's just a worm or like a snake made out of rocks. Number 96 and 97, however, are Drowsy and Hypno. Drowsy is a Psychic-type Pokemon that eats people's dreams and is based off an anteater. Drowsy's evolution is called Hypno. Hypno is a Psychic-type, it looks like a human, and it's even under the human-like egg group, but it's thought to be like some sort of ape. Almost every single Pokedex entry, almost every single one, talks about the dangers of Hypno. Take for instance its most recent entry. As a matter of course, it makes anyone it meets fall asleep and has a taste of their dreams. Anyone having a good dream, it carries off. I think I speak for everyone when I say, we don't want that type of creature living in our world. Pokemon 98 through 120 are more animals, and Pokemon 121, 122, and 124 are all Psychic types, and 122 is also half Fairy type. You already know by now the whole Psychic type, Fairy type thing, so I'm not going to go anywhere further with that. Pokemon 125 through 143 consist of more land animals, bugs, fish, a failed lab attempt, a one-tailed fox, meaning it's fine, a successful lab experiment, 5 prehistoric Pokemon that have been brought back to life from their fossils, and the laziest Pokemon in existence. The part about the 5 prehistoric Pokemon, I'm assuming it's fine because it's like a woolly mammoth trapped in ice that people still have in museums. Before I move on with the last 8 Pokemon, since I already know they all have something that can be identified as a sin, I want to go back to that one-tailed fox I mentioned, which are named Eevee. Eevee is a unique Pokemon that can currently have 8 different evolutions. I know that in the future it can evolve into a Psychic type, a Dark type, or a Fairy type. But since those evolutions aren't present in the first game, I won't mention them in this video. And I know they're called Eeveelutions, don't get mad at me. I know that if you're watching this as a fan of Pokemon, you're probably just here to roast me on the internet. Like, I'm not trying to offend anyone. This video is meant for people who are curious about sins in the Bible, and for Christian families just to be aware of sins in video games. This series is also meant to just promote a change in games. Like, If a Pokemon game could be made without using certain Pokemon like Psychic or Fairy types, even though I know it's impossible, I have a right to suggest it, right? Anyways, enough about my rant. Time for the last 8 Pokemon on the list of the Kanto region. Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres are known as the legendary Bird Trio. So these Pokemon are categorized under legendary. It's not a type. They're known as legendary Pokemon because in the world of Pokemon they are quote-unquote gods. Well, most of the legendary Pokemon are. Each legendary Pokemon that is like a god has some sort of authority over the Pokemon world. So in the Pokemon world, they have a story on how the oceans are created. Articuno and Moltres' combined powers of ice and fire are the source and cradle of the oceans, and Zapdos' electric energy creates currents and streams, which is why the 3 ancient Pokemon are closely bonded to the guardian of the ocean, Lugia. Lugia is a Generation 2 Pokemon, which means it's the next 3 games. So if you want a part 2 to this video, please leave a like. There is only one God. God said that it is a sin to worship false gods. Now, the legendary Bird Trio created the ocean, and they are also considered gods in the Pokemon world, and that is a sin in itself. Next up are the Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite line. And remember how earlier I said Charizard is based off the Komodo dragon? Well, sometimes people say he's based off the Komodo dragon, other people say he's based off a lizard, or a lizard, like it says Charizard at the end of his name. Charizard, alongside Dratini, are based off dragons. Charizard probably. In the Bible, Satan is referred to as a dragon. Revelations chapter 12 verse 9 say, "The great dragon was hurled down, this ancient serpent called the devil, or Satan, who leads the world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him." I'll be completely honest with all you guys, I'm more of a Cyndaquil fan anyways. And finally, Mewtwo and Mew. Both are psychic-type cats, more specifically based off the furless cats from Egypt, and Mewtwo is probably half Frieza. Mew has the ability to learn every single move. All the Pokemon fans thought that it was the god of all Pokemon, because Mew has the DNA of every single Pokemon. But then we got Generation 4, and this video is going to be twice as long if I dive into that. So, yeah. And last but not least, we have Mewtwo, who is also a psychic type like I said a second ago. A Pokemon that was made to be a clone of Mew, except it became too powerful for the scientists to control it. So, Mewtwo fled and hides in Cerulean Cave until the player finds it and catches it, which is optional. There, that's all the Pokemon of the Kanto region. Surprisingly, only 29 out of the 151 have something that can be identified as sinful. In complete honesty, I'm surprised myself. I thought there would be more. So, I've identified all the Pokemon with sinful design, bad background, and types. So, here's my challenge to you. Go through an entire Pokemon game without using a Psychic, Ghost, Dragon, Dark, and Fairy types. That sounds like an interesting Nuzlocke. So, yeah, having to release all Pokemon of those specific types. Leave a comment on what you want the next video to be about, or vote using the iCard above. And I'll be honest with all of you, Generation 2 and Generation 5 are my favorites. And I still like the Pokemon card game, but I don't use the types I've mentioned. Well, anyways, that's all for this episode of Sins in Video Games. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And again, I didn't mean to apologize anyone. Goodbye, crewmates, and God bless you.